SmackDown took place in Dublin, Ireland at LRMania. To start off, we saw some of the sights of Dublin, including some of the city's bridges. When we were in the arena, we saw the stars arrive, and then Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett welcomed us to the show. Becky Lynch made a surprise appearance, and she got a big pop in her home country of Ireland. People really happy to see her. One thing I always thought was it's weird that they booked SmackDown for Ireland. They should have booked Raw for Ireland because so many of the Irish stars are all on Raw. Becky Lynch, of course, Lyra Valkyria, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, and Sheamus. They all wanted to be on the show, and it would have been great for Raw to have been in Ireland because all of them could have been there, and all five of them would have been super over in their home country. That would have been a huge moment for all of them. Now they're all going to be in England on Raw. They'll be over, I assume, in Birmingham, but it's not the same as getting to wrestle in Dublin and getting to wrestle in their home country. They don't get that opportunity. I think if you're a wrestler maybe who's from England, yeah, you're probably going to get an opportunity at least once or twice a year. I'm not sure how many more live events they're going to run in Ireland. So I think it's really shitty that they didn't actually book Raw, and it's unfortunate they decided to book SmackDown instead. But Becky's super over here. She says it's the first ever WWE live event from Dublin. I'm not sure if you meant just Dublin or all of Ireland, because I don't recall a live event ever from Ireland, but maybe I'm wrong. She's wearing a blue scarf. I thought she should have worn the green scarf because it's Ireland, but she wore the blue scarf because it's SmackDown. She's on the blue brand, but the green scarf would have been better. She then, as she's putting over the city, she's talking about her experiences in WWE. She turns heel on the crowd, and they are very upset. They boo her. They start cheering for Lyra Valkyria. Then she got the "shut the fuck up" chants, and when she got that, Netflix immediately began to censor. So for us international viewers, there was issues. When the crowd cusses, they're just going to censor it, and I'm sure it's even worse for the viewers in the U.S. So Becky's putting herself over for a while. The fans start chanting CM Punk because her husband, Seth Rollins, that's his biggest rival, and Becky says nobody wants to see his old ass. And she's really getting a lot of heat here, and she's just going on forever. I think it's too much. Tiffany Stratton finally interrupts her. She gets a big pop. She gets Tiffy time chants, and people are into Tiffy. And then Nia Jax comes out next. I'm thinking to myself, really, why? Why are they keep going back to Nia? And I don't want to see Nia and Tiffy feud anymore. Nia takes a shot at Tiffy, and then Jade comes out, makes a save as Becky was about to join in on the attack. And then Becky is about to jump Jade. She's going to take a cheap shot. Becky runs away. Tiffy and Jade clear the ring. And then Nick Aldis comes out, and he makes a tag team match later tonight. Becky Lynch teaming with Nia Jax against Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill. Playa. Mello Don't Miz. They confront Fraxium backstage ahead of their tag match. They get into a bit of a confrontation. I think Fraxium was trying to tell Mello not to trust Miz. We get Mello Don't Miz against the Motor City Machine Guns. Fans are into the Miz here. They were We Want Miz chants in contrast from the We Want Mello chants last week in Boston. Miz poached a win again, or he poached a win from Carmelo Hayes. So 2 weeks in a row, Miz gets the pinfall, but the team wins anyway. Backstage, Kathy Kelly is interviewing Jimmy Uso, coming off the news from Raw in which him and his wife, Naomi, the former Women's World Champion, are expecting their first child together. And as she's interviewing, Sami Zayn comes in and gives Jimmy Uso a big hug, congratulating him. And Solo then walks in and says they should name the baby after Uncle Solo. Jimmy mocks him. There's the yeet. Sami challenges Solo for the U.S. belt. Yeah, Solo Sikoa, man. I'm going to rant on that later when we get to that match, but that's the worst act on this show, man. That they need to go. That stable needs to be done. I'm not a fan of it. They show us the Las Vegas Strip. We see photos of it. They still show us still shots of the Vegas Strip, and I'm thinking, we're right back in WrestleMania season. whenever they start showing a city a whole bunch of times, it means like we're closer to the event. But because it's WrestleMania, tickets go on sale 7-8 months before. We're going to be seeing a lot of Las Vegas like we saw all of last year. I can't tell you how many times I saw the still shots of the Vegas Strip on my screen. So here we go again. It's basically WrestleMania season when they start promoting a show, because tickets go on sale, and I believe it's a month. September 24th is when tickets go on sale, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we'll be seeing the Strip a lot of times from now until April. Charlotte Flair is out, and she is not with her tag team partner, the other half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Alexa Bliss. So what happened last week was basically they had Piper Niven crush Alexa Bliss's ribs last week, so she's not medically cleared for SmackDown tonight. I assume she just wants to be with her daughter. She doesn't want to be on a European tour for 2 weeks, but she's advertised for a lot of shows, so I assume we know now that she will be there next week. But Alexa wasn't there tonight in Dublin. Well, today, but tonight in Dublin. We've seen now 2 of the 4 horsewomen tonight, both Becky and Charlotte, and it's crazy because who would have ever had on their bingo card that WWE is going to run a show in Dublin, Ireland? Becky Lynch is going to be booed in her home country, and Charlotte Flair is actually going to be cheered. Who would have ever thought that was possible? So speaking of the 4 horsewomen, it's the 10-year anniversary of NXT TakeOver Brooklyn in 2015 from the Barclays Center. And that included the match with Bayley and Sasha Banks. So 10-year anniversary of that classic women's match, one of the greatest women's matches of all time. I wanted to mention that since we're talking about the 4 horsewomen. And Bayley and Sasha, now Mercedes, I believe they did an Instagram live chat today to commemorate the 10-year anniversary. Then we get Charlotte Flair and Piper Niven, which was next. Wade Barrett said Alexa Bliss was not medically cleared to appear on SmackDown, so I assumed that was an injury angle next week. She'll be back in next week in France. Chelsea Green and Alba Fyre kept interfering. Piper Niven ends up pinning Charlotte Flair. What the fuck moment. This is done to set up a tag team title match next week in Lyon, France. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss defend their tag team titles against, I believe it's Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, or it's Alba Fyre and Piper Niven. I'm not sure which one it was, but that sets up the match next week. So they had Piper Niven pinning Charlotte Flair. Kiana James was talking to her client, the Women's United States Champion, Julia, backstage, when Mishin walked up to her and wants her shot at the belt. Mishin now has to wrestle Kiana James first. Julia tells her she's not scared. Whatever. I'm just happy at least we got to see Julia this week. Hopefully she can get a better opponent. One thing that's noticeable is the Raw Women's Division is way, way better than the SmackDown Women's Division, especially since they both got Charlotte and Alexa, 2 of the top female stars in the tag division. So the singular titles, both the Women's US title and the Women's title, are definitely weaker. I feel like the challengers are not there, and SmackDown would be a lot better if they got a draft, particularly the Women's Division. John Cena is out next. Massive pop as you'd expect. He had Irish-themed colors, the orange and green for his shirt, and the Titantron was Ireland-themed, which was cool. He's super over, obviously. Before he can talk, Logan Paul interrupts him. He had some fans flipping off Logan. There were "fuck you, Logan" chants. Of course, Netflix censored, and I'm sure it'll be even worse in the when it airs live in the U.S. I'm sure USA Network will be even worse, but for us international viewers, Netflix is censoring everything. And Logan had a nice line, or a funny line. He said it's nice to be back in England, to make fun of him, pretending that Ireland's part of the UK or something. And he gets shut the fuck up chants. Obviously, those are censored as well. And Logan's playing into it because he's saying, well, no one can hear you. They're censoring it. So it's kind of funny because he's telling them, whatever you're saying, no one can hear it on TV because they're censoring it. And now, you're kind of ruining it for the live audience who are watching at home, which was funny. He's cutting a promo on Cena. Fans really hate Logan. And he's calling Cena a part-timer and stuff like that. Cena responds, calls him a disappointment. Says he uses WWE as a branding opportunity for Prime. Cena went over to the Prime stand and knocked it over, which was funny. He calls Logan a parasite, and there was parasite chants from the crowd. I don't think we've ever heard of a parasite chant before. That was innovative in a way. That's we don't really hear that term too much, and I thought that was actually something that we've never heard from the chant. We never heard a parasite chant from the fans before. Cena even brings up Logan's legal issues, which I was not expecting. He is really tearing into Logan Paul. There was "This is awesome" chants. I don't know if there was "This is awesome" chants. I thought this segment was awesome. This is Cena at his best. I almost feel Cena is better doing this kind of promo as a babyface than a heel, because he can really just tear into you. Like, there's no one better at it than him. Logan takes a shot at Cena. Cena ducks, then hits the AA to end a great segment. Really got me excited for Clash in Paris, and I think there's going to be a lot of heat on that match in Paris. They did a really good job here. Backstage, Tiffany goes up to Jade Cargill. She says she didn't need her help. Jade says she's coming for her belt after the match. Street Profits are out next. Backstage, Drew McIntyre tells Logan Paul that he knows that he's scared of Cena. He motivates him. Fans are singing to Drew. When I saw the segment, it seemed like, well, Drew's going to be John Cena's last opponent. It makes sense for him to be Cena's last opponent on Boston at that Saturday night's main event show. We get the Street Profits against the MFT. I can't believe they jobbed out John Cena to Solo Sikoa. That's what I was thinking when I saw the MFT come out. Yeah, they suck. You had Tala Tonga and Solo Sikoa on the outside, so that gave it away that the team who are wrestling are going to lose. It's JC Mattel teaming with the worst wrestler in the company, Tonga Loa. MFT kept interfering. Jimmy Uso came, attacked Tala Tonga with a steel chair, hit him. After Tala no-sells the chair shot from his cousin Jimmy, throws him into the crowd, and the two of them disappear. And then Solo Sikoa was on the announce booth. Sami Zayn takes him out, trips him up, goes after Solo, hits a haluva kick. Back in the ring, then I think Tala Tonga went after them in the crowd or something. I forget, but he left. Then it's the Street Profits against JC. They hit their finisher. Montez hits the splash from top rope. Pins JC Mateo, and Profits get the win. Heard there was some "you can't wrestle" chants at JC Mateo. That's not fair, because he's by far and away easily the best wrestler in the whole bloodline, or the new MFT group, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But that's what happens when you're associated with Solo Sikoa, who I think is the worst act in the company, the coldest act in the company, someone who's not over, who looks like shit, has a horrible look in my opinion, horrible wrestler. He's just awful, has no charisma, is just a vacuum, and he's just someone who shouldn't be pushed. You also have a group that has Tonga Loa in it, who is what I think the worst wrestler bell to bell in the whole company. That includes both the main roster and NXT. So unfortunately, that's what happens when you're associated with them. And Jason Mattel doesn't have a good look to him. He's short and fat. He just doesn't look intimidating. I hate this group, man. I want to see it disbanded. It's the worst part of SmackDown, and it's really hurting the show. I think when they opened up last week in Boston, it just killed the whole show, put a damper on it, and it was like a stink bomb that, like, the odor couldn't be, we couldn't get rid of the odor last week. That's how I felt watching them start off SmackDown. They're awful. It's the worst group in the whole company. I don't want to see the MFT. I complain about the Vision, and I don't like the Vision either on Raw. The MFT is 10 times worse. They're so shit. Solo is fucking horrible. He's one of the worst acts I've seen in a while. He is so cold right now. I don't want to see Solo Sikoa on my TV screen. He has go away heat with me. I think that gimmick is fucking awful. I think the faction sucks, and I want it gone. This new bloodline is over. It is done. Anyway, backstage we saw Aleister Black warming up before his match, which we thought would be against R-Truth. Aleister Black is then out, and then we're expecting R-Truth to make his entrance. Then we see him on the screen, and he says that he accidentally flew to Dublin, Georgia, instead of Dublin, Ireland. I guess WWE doesn't have, all the wrestlers don't fly together. They all fly separately. I don't know. But this was funny. He then introduces his friend, who's going to face Damian Priest instead. He's going to face Aleister Black, and that would be Damian Priest. Priest just goes right after Black. This wasn't much of a match. There was a referee in the ring, so I thought, are they going to have a match? But it wasn't a match. They just get separated. He goes after him. Black's retreating. There's a whole bunch of security guards that separate it. Waiting for that match. I mean, I wish they had a match at SummerSlam this year, but I guess we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see him have a real match. The match they had on SmackDown a few weeks ago was just a DQ, right? So it'll be a while before we get to see them have a big match together. The announcers were giving an injury update on Cody Rhodes. Drew McIntyre comes out and cuts a promo. He's super over in Ireland. The Scotsman very over in the land not too far from his homeland. Ireland is right next to Scotland, so we know he'd be very much over. He calls Cody Rhodes a little bitch. He then goes on cutting his promo. Suddenly, Randy Orton appears behind him and hits an RKO on Drew McIntyre. So I wasn't expecting this feud to continue, but Orton just takes him out with an RKO out of nowhere. So I wasn't expecting that. And Randy is just super over in Ireland. It's Europe. Randy Orton's over like crazy in Europe, as he always is. What do you expect? Backstage, Becky Lynch and Nia Jax are talking before their match. Becky's super annoying. I'm thinking, isn't it about this time? No, it was around Survivor Series 7 years ago when Nia infamously broke Becky's nose before her match with Ronda at that Survivor Series. She had to pull out. Charlotte took her spot. She had that classic segment with Becky with her nose all broken. She's all bloodied up. She's concussed in the crowd, posing with just blood streaming down her nose, and memorable. Whenever I see those two, that's when whenever you see Becky Lynch and Nia Jax on the same screen, the first thing I think of is that segment on that Raw. So the announcers preview next week's show in Lyon, France. That's the same site that hosted Backlash last year. That crazy hot crowd that just went insane for everything. So they're going to get SmackDown next week. I'm sure they're going to be insanely hot for that show. It'll probably be louder than Paris was, because I don't know how Paris is going to be louder than Lyon last year. Main event, Becky Lynch and Nia Jax against Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill. So Tiffany hit a swanton from the top post to the floor, which was good. But she dove to, she didn't do the swanton far enough, so she almost went head first, but they caught her anyway. Eventually, Becky Lynch decides to ditch her tag team partner, Nia Jax, who didn't see that one coming. She doesn't want to team with the woman who broke her nose and gave her a concussion. So she ditches Nia Jax, and I guess the announcers played off as she was upset with how the fans were booing her in her home country. Jade Cargill hits a powerbomb on Nia Jax. Tiffany Stratton hits the prettiest moonsault ever, and then Jade finishes off Nia Jax with a frog splash and pins Nia. So Jade and Tiffy win. They celebrate, and then we go backstage. John Cena is now outside the arena. He's just leaving, and then Nick Aldis tells him that he heard from Brock Lesnar. Cena pauses. We hear Brock's name. The first time they've really mentioned him since SummerSlam. And then Logan Paul, out of nowhere, sucker punches John Cena to end the show. And Aldis checks on Cena. Cena's knocked out. He's just trying to regain consciousness. He's left lying on the streets. He's left lying in the Dublin streets as SmackDown ends. And overall, I thought the show was a lot better than the last few weeks. Now, that's a very low bar, but since SummerSlam ended, SmackDown's been way better. You compare this show to the shows after SummerSlam, easily the best one. That's a very low bar, but the crowd in Dublin made it really hot. The Cena Logan segment was great, so you had some good stuff here. I just think the roster's weak, and they're pushing too many clunkers, too many shitters. Particularly, I'm talking about the MFT. I think you know who I mean. There's just too many people. Nia Jax doesn't need to be pushed anymore. They're pushing the wrong people, I think, even though when you look at the overall roster, it's very deep. So that was SmackDown, and we'll see what happens as the European tour continues. But first, starting the second European tour of 2025, Dublin, Ireland was great tonight. Great Irish crowd, and hopefully the luck of the Irish continues on throughout this European tour, and we continue to have great crowds, which we know we'll have, and also we continue to have good shows. Because I thought SmackDown tonight was actually a pretty damn good show.